it's Don Skaggs with Empowered Inventing, the one place where we try to help you help other people to take your great innovation, the right opportunity, mix that with sound wisdom to turn them into real things like products and businesses that make money. Now, today I want to address a question, and this was actually an issue that someone actually tried to argue with me about one time, and that is, the question is, can you really mail a letter to yourself and to protect your idea? And the short answer is that you can't. But there's a lot of good hacks out there, a lot of really good things that you can do to become successful with your product or business. A lot of shortcuts you can take, a lot of just hacks, things that you can figure out how to do that's going to get you a little further without spending a tremendous amount of money. We talk about that a lot here. But the idea of mailing a letter yourself, and this has actually become kind of an old wives' tale. It's one of these urban legends that, just one of these things that if you believe it, it could really mess you up. And I've seen inventors do this. I mailed a letter to myself, and so I'm protected. And so mailing a letter to yourself to protect your idea is just a really, really, really bad idea. Now, this sort of urban legend, which is kind of what I want to call it, it actually originated from an old copyright rule from a long, long time ago that used to be in the UK, in the United Kingdom. And there was a copyright rule where you could mail the letter, or mail whatever it is you wrote, because a copyright's very different than a patent, and we teach that in a lot of our classes. But you could actually do that at one time in one little place in the United Kingdom a very long time ago. But as far as your idea, protecting your idea for a patent in the United States, guess what? It will not protect your idea, mailing a letter to yourself. And a lot of people kind of think of that because they think, well, if I do this inventor notebook thing, and actually that used to be a thing. In 2013, the United States became a FirsttoFile patent system, which kind of got us in sync with the rest of the world, because most all the other countries in the world are all a FirsttoFile patent system. This means that if you write all your information down and you have it signed, witnessed, and signed in an inventor's notebook, which is what you used to be able to do to protect your idea, is no longer in effect ever since 2013. So after 2013, March 2013, all that was over with. It used to be, before 2013, that you could write down your idea in this in a special kind of inventor's notebook. It was the kind you couldn't tear the pages out of, or couldn't remove and replace the pages out of. Kind of like the little notebooks they sell for school today, the little, I forget what they call them, journal notebooks or whatever. So anyway, and what inventors used to do, and I used to see this actually was a little bit of a problem. This is part of the reason I kind of didn't like when we became FirsttoFile, but then I kind of did because of this reason. And this reason is because I used to see inventors that would just, okay, I'm protected by idea. I've got it all in this inventor notebook. I've had somebody read it, understand it. They've witnessed, they've signed off, and they've dated it. That on this day I thought up this idea, and they would just fill their basements with all of these inventor notebooks, and guess what? That's where they sat. That's where many of them probably sit today, and there's probably some inventors out there that think, I'm safe because I've got all these notebooks written and signed and dated in my basement somewhere. Well, guess what? After March 2013, that all ended. We are now what's called a FirsttoFile system. So you can't do a notebook anymore. You certainly can't mail a letter to yourself anymore. Now it's the first person that makes it to the patent office and files the thing wins. So the date of your provisional patent becomes what's called your priority date. And I'm a big proponent of filing that provisional patent first. Remember, there's two things that you can file. You can file your non-provisional, which is kind of the big enchilada. It's the main patents, the one that they're going to review and approve. If you get if you get a notice of allowance and you actually get your patent. Before that, up to 1 year before you file that, you can file what's called a provisional patent. That holds your foot in the door for a year. Which, by the way, is the fastest year of your life. It will go by very fast, and again, we teach some really important strategic things about that, and a lot of the consulting we do, and also in Empowered Inventing Classes Academy. So, but the date of filing this provisional patent becomes what's called the priority date. It is the date, it is you stamping in the ground, putting a stake in the ground, saying, okay, right here on this date, I am filing. This is when I am protected back to this date, because I am filing and serving notice with the U.S. government, the U.S. Patent Office, that this is when my idea, this is where I'm establishing my idea. It may not be when you thought of it. You may have an old inventor's notebook, but you still have to file that provisional patent, and that provisional patent date is the only one that counts. And it's a ticking clock, because in a year, if you don't file the provisional patent, guess what? All bets are off. So it holds your foot in the door for 1 year. Now, that might, for some of you guys, some of you people out there, that might bewilder you. Oh gosh, how am I going to do this? I got to file a how do I file a provisional patent? There's a good hack for this. And you can write, number one, you could write your patent yourself. And there's a lot of good resources. And one of my suggestions of this hack is to pretend, even if you're not going to write it yourself, pretend like you're going to have to file it by yourself. You write it that way. You actually, and what this does is this gets you engaged in it, and it gets you to understand, okay, this is how patents are written. Again, we teach classes about it. There's a lot of good books, a lot of good resources out there, a lot of good resources at your inventor organizations that are out there, inventleader.org, at the IGA, Inventor Groups of America, the UIA, the United Inventors Association. There's a lot of really good resources out there, and a lot of good groups out there that you could find, like ours here in Kentucky, kyinventors.org, which we also reach out to now online to a lot of places. So there's a lot of really great resources out there that you can find to learn how to write, or at least pretend to write, your patent. And why did I say pretend? Because, and by the way, there are a lot of inventors out there, if you feel like you understand it enough and you've been through it enough, that actually are not that bad at writing their own provisionals. So you at least you pretend to write it. Then you take it to three, not one, not two, but three attorneys. You take it to three attorneys, and you bring all this to them, and you say, okay, how much is it going to cost for you to do the work, to go through this and fix it up and clean it up and get me over the finish line for my provisional? Or maybe you file your provisional yourself, and then you do that with a non-provisional. Now, number one, this is going to help you to communicate better to the attorney. You're not going in there with a napkin sketch or just saying, well, I just thought of this idea of doing this. Write me a patent. Yeah, that's going to cost you $10,000, $15,000. Don't do that. If you're an independent inventor and that's all the money you got, and I have seen inventors do this where they'll just spend all their money up front on a patent, and they don't even know they have a market yet. They don't even know if they're protecting the right things about their patent yet, but they just rush in and just kind of vaguely give an attorney their idea and then have them write it up. And guess what? The attorneys are going to take your money, and they're going to do their best based on your vague beginning description, and they're going to write you some kind of patent that is probably not going to help you and is probably going to cost you more money than you needed to spend. So get three quotes. Write it yourself. Get three quotes, take it to them, and that will communicate better. They're going to, number one, know you've got your act together. Number two, you're going to be able to tell them exactly what it is you're trying to protect. Number two, it's going to give you a perspective of the attorneys that you're meeting. I always say the attorney has a fountain in their lobby. Maybe you want to go and talk to some of these single shingle guys, which I kind of like, especially the ones that are very inventor friendly and the ones that have a good track record and a good reputation. And again, this is why the inventor groups are good, because the other independent inventors will have had experience and can talk to you about that. So it'll give you a perspective on the attorneys and on the pricing. Treat them just like a plumber or an electrician. They're doing a service, and you want to be able to vet them well. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. Don't mail a letter to yourself and think you're protecting your idea. Just don't do that. I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing TV. Be sure and like and subscribe. If you want to see more, learn more, find out about our Empowered Inventing Academy, go to empoweredinventing.com, and hopefully we'll be able to help you with those as well. And I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, maybe one of our online classes, or on the next video.